New bombshells from the journalist who claimed she was targeted for reporting negatively on the Obama administration. As former CBS reporter Sharyl Attkisson reveals a list of evidence in her forthcoming book that she says proves the administration may have been doing a lot more than just hacking her computers. Trace Gallagher live from our West Coast newsroom with more. Trace?
Megyn, toward the end of her run with CBS News, Sharyl Attkisson complained loudly that network executives often refused to air stories that were critical of the Obama administration, like Fast and Furious and Benghazi. So the relationship between Attkisson and CBS was clearly strained. And yet, CBS verified back in 2013 that Attkisson's computers had been hacked and that whoever hacked her went to great lengths to cover it up. Now, in her new book, Attkisson is alleging that an unnamed source inside the government who analyzed her computer said that he was shocked and flabbergasted by what he found, telling her, quoting, "This is outrageous, worse than anything Nixon ever did. I wouldn't have believed something like this could happen in the United States of America." Attkisson also says not only was her computer breached, but hackers tapped into her audio device to listen in on conversations and tried to frame her by planting classified documents in an area of the computer that only a computer whiz could find, saying the motive was to lay the groundwork for possible charges against her or her sources. And she claims the hacking has an undeniable link to the Obama administration, either the FBI, CIA, or NSA. Here's Attkisson talking about her book on YouTube. Listen.
I was at home working on questions for yet another story that the Obama administration was unhappy with related to the Benghazi terrorist attacks. And as I was typing and working on questions for a Benghazi-related story, the data started wiping kind of at hyper speed, being deleted, as if my computer had been hijacked and I had no control over it.
The Justice Department has denied the allegations. CBS News has declined to comment on the new book. Megyn.
Thanks, Trace. Well, Ms. Attkisson isn't the only journalist upset with the White House, as the Washington bureau chief for USA Today said over the weekend she believes this administration is more dangerous to the press than any other in history. Joining me now, Howard Kurtz, who's host of Media Buzz here on Fox, and Mark Thiessen, who's a former presidential speechwriter, a Washington Post columnist, and an American Enterprise Institute fellow. And Howie, so Sharyl's claims, she has gotten specific about how she believes the administration targeted her before in response to her reporting. But her new book sounds like it's got more specifics than we ever heard before, including the suggestion that documents were planted. You believe it?
It's an incredibly chilling narrative, Megyn. The accumulation of detail about how these two computers, home computer and the office computer, were files were accessed, files were deleted, the planning of the classified documents, as you said, a fiber optic line mysteriously appears being installed at her Virginia home. I certainly believe that somebody was out to get her. I cannot prove, and she does not explicitly claim that was the administration, but it makes you wonder about press freedom in this country. It is really kind of a spy thriller.
She says she was told by the experts that this had to be somebody who knew what they were doing. It's only a few groups it could have been, including the U.S. government, somebody like CIA, DOD, FBI, someone with the three letters, as they put it. Mark Thiessen, you worked for the government. Tell us the truth. Did they do this kind of thing?
Not in our administration, they didn't. I mean, look, Sharyl Attkisson is a serious person. She has witnesses. She has forensic evidence of looking into her computer. We have to take her allegations seriously. And if the government was involved in this, this is a serious, serious misconduct, bordering on approaching Watergate. I mean, this is huge. If the government did it, we do not know that the government did it. And as Howie points out, she doesn't actually explicitly say it in her book.
Mm-hmm. But of course, in any alleged situation like this, you ask who had the motive, and that's what seems to be where Sharyl goes with this, which is she believes it was no accident this was happening when she was doing reports that were highly critical, Howie, of the Obama administration, and she was doing it from CBS News, which the Obama administration wasn't able to write off, as you know, they tried to write Fox News off, so they had to deal with her, and yet to this day she maintains her credibility. This is not some hack.
No, this is an award-winning reporter who, ironically, as the book shows, was often at odds with her bosses at CBS over the Benghazi stories and the Fast and Furious stories and others. But, you know, the Obama administration, whether there is any link here or not, does have a track record of going after people like James Risen, the former New York Times reporter, who is now facing jail for refusing to reveal a source in a case related to the CIA. Our own James Rosen, whose emails and those of his family were accessed without anybody at Fox or Rosen himself knowing about it. Now, in those cases, cases, there was a warrant, although it wasn't disclosed publicly until later.
And in
case,
fact, it was
Justice Department
affirmatively
didn't.
represented not to be the case by Eric Holder.
Exactly, and I think the administration has pulled back a bit from these tactics because of the storm of criticism from journalists like the one that you played earlier from Susan Page of USA Today about this assault on
I want the audience to hear
freedom.
that soundbite for themselves. Let's play Susan Page.
This administration's been more restrictive and more challenging to the press, more dangerous to the press, really, than any administration in American history in terms of legal investigations and so on. And I think access to the White House has just gotten worse and worse.
What do you make of that, Mark? Because, you know, of course, we had a president who ran for office promising it was going to be the most transparent administration in history, a claim he maintains he has upheld.
Yeah, you know, one of the reasons there's so many leak investigations is because there's so many leaks. I mean, one of the problems we've had is that this administration has leaked like a sieve to try and make the president look good, from revealing details of the Bin Laden raid to revealing that he personally draws up kill lists, to revealing that he personally authorized the Stuxnet attack in Iran. They've done a lot of damage with leaks. So one of the reasons there's a lot of leak investigations is because there are leaks. But the cases that Howie pointed out is that there's a qualitative difference between that and what Cheryl Atkinson is alleging, is that there was a warrant in both of those cases, in most of those other cases. In this situation, I asked two very senior former national security officials, is it at all possible that what she describes was done under a warrant? And they said no, that you could monitor a journalist's computer if there was a warrant to do that. But to go in and destroy files, that's something that no judge would ever approve. So this is qualitatively different and much more serious than whether you agree or disagree with the other investigation. This is something of on its own.
Go ahead, Howie.
Every administration leaks, and every administration has battles with the press over access, but this takes it to a whole other level, and I agree with Mark, this is qualitatively different, which is why you have the press corps really up in arms about some of these tactics.